Welcome to TRADEREP. This is Short Hammer. It is the 18th of June, 2019. We're looking at Amazon. Now, the interesting thing about Amazon is we were expecting a potential pattern repeat. And what's that mean? So back on the 16th of April, we had to push up and a close above the 1845 by 1858 supply demand zone. The next 2 days we kind of pushed, but we consolidated above that zone. Then we had a back test of the 1845 at the bottom of the zone that held. We had a push up to the upside, 1888. Then the next leg took us through the 1914 by 1923 supply demand zone. We then had a pull back below, but then we pushed up through the top of that zone into the 1950s. So when I say a pattern repeat, on the 10th of June, we had a push up. We closed above the 1845 by 1858 supply demand zone. The next day, consolidation above, held above. Then we had a back test of the 1845s that held, push up, but we just didn't have the volume. And I believe the reason why we don't have the volume and we don't have the push is because everyone's waiting on the FOMC. Amazon has enough good news, enough good momentum behind it for us to already be through the 1914 by 1923, but the market is suppressed based on people waiting for the FOMC. We're still in pattern repeat mode. We're holding and hovering right now around the 1890s, which is basically what this move was on the 22nd, right around that same area. We're below the 1889 47 78.6% fib line I have here. I'm not sure when I drew this, but we're right below that. So the best thing that could happen for our bullish case would be a gap through those mid 1890s into the 1900s overnight, pull back and test, and then for us to leg into the 1914 area. As long as we're holding, let me go back. And let's see what we've got here. Okay, here's our 5-minute chart. As long as we hold above the 1880s, and even if we go back and we hold above the 1875 area, as long as we hold headed into the FOMC and the news is not negative, we might still see a springboard in the run through the 1890s into the 1900s. So the issue this week is going to be the FOMC and how the market reacts to whatever it is that they say, whether they're leaning more dovish or leaning more hawkish or leaning unchanged. The market is pricing in interest rate cuts. So if we don't see that, there could be turmoil in the markets. So if you look at what happened today, we pushed up from the open. We held this channel that we spent most of last week dancing around. And from the 1875 area, we just ripped and ran head first into the mid 1890s, which back on, I believe it was the 11th, was the area that we tested before we pulled back. Here we go. This is on the 11th of June. We ran to those mid 1890s. And from there, we just didn't have the strength and we pulled back hard. Now, today, or should I say yesterday, we hit the mid 1890s. We pulled back, but we didn't pull back hard. We held the 1880s and we pushed back up again. Couldn't quite get up back to this level here, but we're sort of consolidating here. So we need a push to get to those mid 1890s to take us into the 1900s so we can really see some upside. I believe our upside potentially, once we get through the monthly pivot at 1902, is potentially the 1914 area up in here, this supply demand zone. But right now I believe we're just the push, the momentum is suppressed based on the FOMC on Wednesday. So the best thing to do is just keep your trades tight, and if we see a push through those mid 1890s, We may see some room up into the lower 1900s, but we've got to get through there to really get the next leg here. And so we're just really sort of just hovering and waiting to see what we get. We really want to hold above the 1880s and 1875 area just to keep this bullish arc, in my opinion. If we get below these 1870s or below these 1868s and we start to go back down, we definitely want to make sure that we hold the 1850s into the 1840s. If we get below that, then my outlook on Amazon changes and the pattern repeat that I'm expecting will become invalidated. So for tomorrow, the main intraday pivot is 1885.61. So I'll definitely be watching that area and down into the 1875s for us to hold on any pullbacks, any selling through there, and I'll start to wonder a little bit, but we'll see. But that's my outlook on Amazon. Just a little bit of overhead, but we do also have a little bit of support. Just the buying wasn't there. The volume was not great today, not just in Amazon, but overall in the market, the volume wasn't great. If you weren't in BYND and you weren't in Facebook or even Lulu, the volume just wasn't there today. It seems as if people are just sitting and waiting for the FOMC, for a decision to be made, for there to be a direction chosen before they'll start throwing their money into the market for the push or for the drop. But that's my outlook on Amazon. We'll see what the market gives us tomorrow, but it just feels as if we've just been consolidating for most of last week, and this week again we're just consolidating on Amazon, just waiting for, maybe it's just the FOMC waiting for a decision so we can choose a market direction.